Hello buddy, good afternoon, welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United transfer news with me, Mark Goldbridge, as Man United move in on a Bryan Mbeumo transfer. Apparently this is the next player on Ruben Amorim's list. We know from people like Fabrizio Romano that Man United do want two number 10s. Would this be the right number 10? I think so. Is it likely to happen? Let's discuss it. Also, late this morning, we're hearing that Chelsea are now favourites to sign Liam Delap. Do we believe that, or is it a load of crap? We'll talk about that. Also, Antony's been speaking, and I want to circle back in on a couple of key issues in this summer transfer window as well. Hope you're doing very well today. Good to be with you on a 2 o'clock show. Busy, busy, busy. Let's start off talking about this Mbuemo story then. Also, if I could be so kind as to say, please watch my reaction to my Premier League predictions. Getting a lot of good feedback on that. Links in the video description, and it's top in the live chat. So check that out afterwards. But for now, let's talk Mbuemo. So look, it's difficult. It's difficult. The first thing I would say is, do I want to sign Mbuemo? I think he's perfect for Newcastle. I've said this for weeks. Newcastle, I know they've got Jacob Murphy, but you put Mbuemo on that right-hand side, the goals, the assists, the Champions League, he's perfect for Newcastle. So if he's perfect for Newcastle, he's definitely perfect for Manchester United. So yes, please, is the answer. I would take Mbuemo. I'll talk about the transfer stories about it at the moment, and while I'm a little bit reluctant, because I am around the stories. But in relation to the player, yes, because I don't think it's been spoken about enough about Mbuemo. I think there is a snobbery in the Premier League, and we are part of that. Everyone talks about Man United 24/7, even though we're crap. We haven't got a player in our team that can live with the likes of Mbuemo this season. He scored 20 Premier League goals in a Brentford side, spread across the whole season. I've seen players, I've played the game, I've seen players across my lifetime who score a shitload of goals in a short period of time. This is across the whole season for Brentford, who apparently were going to get relegated without Tony. They're better without Tony. And it's not just Mbuemo, there's some other good players there. But 20 Premier League goals for Brentford, I don't think it gets mentioned enough. This lad should be up for Player of the Year. I'm not saying he should get it, but there's been a lack of respect on what it takes to do that at a club like Brentford. On top of that, 7 goals, 7 assists as well. So I think he's had a fantastic season. I think if you're going to play for Brentford and Thomas Frank, you have to have the key components that we want. Workability, consistency, intensity, and a good attitude. All these things are yes, and experience. He's going to be 26 next. So everything, yes. 100%. These are the type of players we've been speaking about for a few years on this channel. You want players that have got it, are there, but aren't quite there. You know, they're doing it, they're proving it, but they've got a step up. They've got another step in their career. You don't want them making a step down. Di Maria, Varane, people like that. We want a player that's definitely ready to go up, and he's ready to go up, and he's hungry, and he's got the right attitude. So I think yes, and more yes. And as I said, you cannot overstate the season he's had at Brentford. Very, very hard Premier League season as well. So he's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Do I believe Man United are in for him? Well, apparently the price is 50 million quid. The only thing I would say here is, if it happens, I'm very excited for the reasons I've just said. But I've got to be honest, at this moment in time, I don't feel we've got the credibility in the story. And that's not because our source haven't said anything. We're not going to know everything. I'm very pleased of what we have been told. I know nothing about this. I'm talking about Fabrizio Romano. I'm talking about David Ornstein, because at the moment, I feel like the people who are talking about it are the same people that a few weeks ago were saying we're in talks for Semenyo, which we weren't. We were never in talks with Semenyo at Bournemouth. And that was a big story for a couple of weeks. And now it's disappeared because we were never in for him. Sometimes you're going to get used. Sometimes, you know, Brentford are looking to sell the player and Man United need a number 10. So I'm sort of 50-50 on whether this story is true, because it lacks the credible people. And it has a lot of people who aren't really transfer people. If they're right, I will come back and say, fair play. I read it there, I read it there, I read it there. But at the moment, I just feel like we're lacking that Fabrizio, which could come up in any moment. So, which is why I wanted to start it with a positive to say, yes, I'd do this deal. 50 million quid is fine for the type of player that you're getting. You've got to pay for the experience as well. And I think that if you had Mbuemo and you had Cunha, straight away I'm looking at the number 10 positions and I'm going, well, do they both start? Do you put Mbuemo on the right? It helps to have those sort of quality players at Manchester United. And obviously we know Garnacho's going, so it sort of cushions the blow when you lose a 20-year-old with talent for two 25-year-olds with experience. So let's wait and see. It's certainly. Oh, here we go. Stephen, he's not a 10. What is he then, Stephen? Can you tell us what Mbuemo is? I'd love to know what you think Mbuemo is in a Manchester United team. I love these sort of comments. He's not a 10. He's not a 10. He's not a 10. Why is he not a 10? Plays on the right wing for Brentford. Doesn't play up front. So where's he going to play for Manchester United? Yeah, he's not going to play as a fucking right wing back for Man United, is he? He's going to play as a number 10 because we use wingers in the number 10. How long's Amorim been at this football club, Stephen? You know what it is, though? There's always a negative to drag us down. I just realised again what somebody said this morning, rage bait, and you fell for it. But he raises a good point. Where would he fit in the team? And we don't play a 4-3-3, which is why I said at the start, Stephen, I think he's perfect for Newcastle to play on the right wing, because that's where he plays for Brentford. I think in a United team, you wouldn't want to play him right wing back because he's too good going forward. And we haven't seen our wingers work like that at the moment. Maybe there's an evolution of Amorim where we have wingers on the wide who score goals. But I think what we've seen in the Premier League is that this is not Sporting. And as much as I want to see wingers on the wing, I don't think we're set up for that at the moment. I don't think we've got the centre-backs with the pace and the intensity for us to play wingers. I think we've got centre-backs at centre-back and wing-backs at wing-back. So I think if you brought Mbuemo in, he would play behind the striker where Cunha is as a 10, because we've seen in Amorim's Sporting system that he does use wingers there as well. So that's where I think he would work. But look, as I said, I'd be very happy with this signing, but at the moment we do have to adhere to... What do we have to adhere to? The 5 rules of transfers. Copyright United Stand circa 2018. The 5 rules of transfers almost need to be somewhere written down. They are: 1, it's total nonsense. 2, it's totally true. 3, it's the club using Manchester United to generate interest from other clubs. 4, it's the agent using Manchester United to generate interest from other clubs. 5, it's the club and the agent using Manchester United to generate interest for a new contract. So we've got to be wary of those 5. And at the moment, unlike Delap, unlike Cunha, I feel it could still be any of those 5 things. So let's wait and see. And also, how many players are we going to go for and have no competition? I mean, I still think we've been very, very, very proactive in relation to Cunha, because I'm very surprised that a Chelsea, an Arsenal, a Newcastle, a Liverpool weren't there. I think he's that good. So would we get away with that again with Mbuemo, where nobody moves for him in a very competitive market? So let's just see. But I'd be very happy with it. At the moment, I'm just going to reserve judgment and say, yes, I hope it's true. But secondly, it could be just a bit of talk. Well, let's wait and see. Do you think Ahmad will be the wing-back for next season when we buy Mbuemo and Cunha? Oh, we're buying Mbuemo now. Okay, let's pretend we have. You know what? My only observation with Ahmad at right wing-back is physically, defensively, he's weak. He works really hard, but you put him up against someone like, I don't know, Rafinha or Antony Gordon or Luis Diaz or someone like that, and they're physically, well, anything aerial to the back post, you're in trouble. And also, I think, you know, he's quite small. Let's be honest. He's quite small. I think physically that might be a problem in the current incarnation of what Amorim's doing. If, however, you had Yoro as the right centre-back, you had De Ligt as the centre-back, and you had Heaven as the left centre-back, and they were all elite, i.e., you know, they were all at their best, then I think you can play Ahmad on the right-hand side, because I think then you've got 3 very physical, athletic centre-backs that can sort of say push on. And that's what used to happen at Sporting. That's why you could have Kenda at 17 as a right wing back. So you can play Ahmad as a right-sided winger. But the way we're playing at the moment, I think he'd get exploited physically. So I think we can evolve into it, definitely. But at the moment, we haven't really seen it. Do we have enough for a good centre midfielder if we get Mbuemo, says Malaki? Well, we don't know. We don't know what the funds are at the moment, do we? Where would you say good question, Samuel. Where is Mbuemo on the hotometer now? I don't think he was on the hotometer before. I don't know whether I've got it from... Well, I'm not going to show the hotometer because it's out of date. It's like milk. We shouldn't touch it. But I think Mbuemo would probably be a 4 at the moment for me. Yeah, I think he's probably a 4 because what you've also got to remember as well is not the 5 strands of transfers, but not every story is true. And I think sometimes at the start of the transfer window, we can be quite naive to that. But there's many people in this chat who can tell the naive people, we've been here, we've played the game, we've seen 10 transfer windows in this community. And guess what? Not every player you get linked to are you in for. And it's just familiarity. I've got to do it, you've got to do it. Not every player that these journalists link us to are we in for. There was a load of players last year that we were never in for. And I think because it's the start of the window, people get really excited. Look, remember Xavi Simons last year? Round the same as Agate. Oh, Man United want Xavi Simons. United would never happened. And there was countless others. So not every player we get linked to will happen. And we'll only learn that through fatigue, really. But I hope there is something in this. It's about time we signed Premier League players, says Tumbleweed. It's the relegation factor, mate. And I'm not saying we're getting relegated. But I always say to these teams that are getting promoted, the best thing you can do is buy 5 roadworthy Premier League players and stick them down your spine. And you just might finish 4th from bottom in your first season and then you're away. And it's the same for Man United. The best thing we can do if we want to climb the table is buy as many Premier League proven players down our spine as we can because they're Premier League proven. And the chances are that if Mbuemo can score 20 goals in a Brentford side, he can score 20 goals in a Man United side. And if Cunha can score 12 goals in a Wolves side, he can score it in a Man United side. And suddenly you've got 32 goals. And then if you can buy a striker who can buy you 20 goals, you know, you've got 50 goals and that's going to move you very high up the league. And it's a very simple principle, definitely. A bit of an update coming in here. Let's have a look. I'm just been sent this. Man United players under contract have been informed that none of them are absolutely assured of remaining at the club next season. That's from the Manchester Evening News. That's possibly the worst update of the summer so far. So Man United players under contract have been told they're not necessarily staying. So basically, what? Why would you write that? I mean, there's what? What? I feel like I'm gonna have a fit. What sort of update's that? Man United players under contract have been told they're not necessarily safe. So 95% of our squad might not be safe. What a bloody... Well, breaking news. Breaking news. I thought we were only going to get rid of players out of contract. Bloody hell. We need to sell players under contract. What's that all about? Anyway, we move. Just on the striker situation, thanks everyone who's tuning in. Please do subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, because we're very close to... actually, we're closing on 2.1 million, but we're actually only 100 subscribers away from 86,000. So please do subscribe, get involved. Live every day, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and everything in between. And don't forget, we have got 2 watch-alongs this week for our sins. We will be doing, I'm going to call it a chat-along. So the United games in Malaysia and Asia will be on, I think, MUTV. We will be watching them. It's a bit like watching paint dry, but a bit of a Q&A at the same time. Right, let me talk to you about the striker situation. We've spoken about Mbuemo. Let's see what happens with Mbuemo. Kai says Mbuemo would be perfect. He cuts all the bullshit and does only what is needed to get goals. Very efficient player. I like the idea of it. Let's just wait and see. As I said, not every story is going to be true. And as much as I hope it is, let's wait and see. What will happen to our goalkeeper position, says Structural. Spoke about it this morning. If they can't sell Onana, I think we'll bring in a cheap second goalkeeper to challenge him. Mirror FTW says, since Rashford and Sancho are leaving, can we attract players by providing a higher salary than they are receiving now, says Mirror. I don't think they want to pay high salaries, to be honest with you. Hi, Mark. What are your thoughts of if we sign the attacking players of Cunha, Mbuemo and Delap with Cherki? I defo see goals and flair and teamwork, says Wakaz. I can't see 3 10s coming in, mate. I think we've got to be very careful because we've not even had an update yet on the budget. This morning, we're being told we've pulled out of a deal for Gyökeres because we can't afford it. And then now you're talking about buying Cunha and Mbuemo and Cherki. I don't know at the moment, and nobody can tell me whether we're in deep shit and we haven't really got any money beyond Cunha, or whether we're going to spend 300 million. We just don't know yet. When will Cunha join the squad on tour? July. Lush. Do you think Ahmad will... I've done that one from Tony Marcial. Nick P's in the house. He says, I think goalkeeper's a serious issue for us. I don't know why I've done it like that, Nick. I apologise. I don't know why I did it like that. I think goalkeepers are a serious issue for us, says Nick P. Actually, I liked it before. I think goalkeepers are a serious issue for us. Not just our first choice keeper. We literally have two keepers who can't handle the pressure either way. I agree, Nick. It's a very good point. We need a goalkeeper. Stiller for 40 million is a steal, says Football Analytics. Let's talk a look. For me, the next thing I want to talk about is Delap. But I want to give a different angle on this. You can bring me Cunha. You can bring me Mbuemo. You can bring me Edison. You can bring me a goalkeeper. But if you don't bring me a striker I can believe in for the next 5 years, then I worry. Because I think I look at every side that's successful, and I'm not talking about the Liverpool. I'm looking at Arsenal. I'd take second place for the last 3 years. If I was a United fan, I would. But you'd also be massively frustrated because you haven't got a striker. Trust me, the more you get, the more you want, especially in football. And second's not good enough. We're not happy, but we wouldn't be happy in second either. You're never happy unless you win. That's the great thing about football. I don't sit here and go, oh, if we could just be second for 3 years, we wouldn't be happy. We wouldn't be happy. We'd be better, but we wouldn't be happy. You're never happy because you're always chasing the win. And that's what United should be doing. So if we don't get the right striker in, we will climb the league. Definitely we will climb the league next season. I'm very confident of that. And actually, just reminded me of something. I was thinking about this. I'll throw it in. So I'll come back to the striker. It's very important. But have you ever watched films? Not those sort of films. Have you ever watched films about the military, army, all that, where they train them, like Marines or anything like that? Manchester United, right? There's a big confusion in our fan base as to how this ownership model over the last 10 years especially have taken us further and further and further down, yeah? And there's a confusion in the fan base as to how they can keep getting away with it. They got away with the Super League behind our back. They're still here. They've got away with dividends. They've got away with debt. They're going to knock Old Trafford down. They get away with sacking half the workforce. They get away with raising ticket prices. They're now going to get away with our lowest ever Premier League points total, an embarrassment. They just get away with it all the time. And I think there's a lot of confusion as to why. But if you think about like those films you might have seen or documentaries about being in the military, the elite areas of the military, whether it's the Marines, the SAS, whatever, what do they do to those recruits? They break them down to the lowest level. And then when they're at that point, they can get them to do whatever they want. And if you look at the tactic of the Glazers, it's quite similar, even though it's probably not been done on purpose. They've broken us down as a fan base to absolutely the lowest point. So now they can just get away with anything. They can mould us into whatever they want because they've taken us right down to the bottom. And if you can take people down to the very bottom, it's like breaking somebody's will. I've seen films about, the Second World War and prisoners of war and people like that, and they absolutely break these people down to they're living in absolute horrendous environments, for 4 years, and you think, how does a human, and this is a very serious topic, but how does a human being deal with that? Because that's what suppressors can do. They can break you down to such a level where you think you almost become used to it. And I think that's I don't know whether they've done it on purpose, but it sort of explains the situation that we're in. When you're confused as to how they're still here, they've just gradually broken us down. They've made us get used to it at every single level. And they've now got us at a point where they've survived in the worst circumstances ever. And they can basically manipulate us into what they want now. So we're all really just sat there watching what comes next and hoping that it can get better. And my point is, we could finish 6th for the next 10 years and they'll still be here. We might not be in Europe for 10 more years. I mean, we will, but, you know, I don't think there's anything that can happen to this football club anymore that would force them out, apart from financially they get done. We won't do anything as fans. They've broken us down to the basics. Is Højlund a sell or loan, says Kay? I don't know. You've got to trust Amorim on that. Same with Garnacho, isn't it? Garnacho's going to be a sale. Bruno could be a sale, but won't be a sale. You've just got to trust the manager, really, on what he wants to do. Going back to the striker situation, I think that, as I was saying before, this is not a joke. We'll all be optimistic. Whoever we bring in, we'll back them, because that's what the majority of this fantastic fan base does. We back our signings. And we will back whoever it's going to be. But it's not a joke. Like, it's not a joke. We need the best money can buy. And you can get Cunha, you might get Mbuemo, you might get Edison, you might get a good goalkeeper. But if you haven't got a goal scorer, I was thinking about this morning. And let's say you get Delap and he scores 12 goals. When he scores goals, people will be going, oh, he's cooking. But at the end of the season, if he's got 12 goals, that's not enough. We could end up in a position where the striker we bring in is just middle of the road. He's not terrible and he's not brilliant. And ultimately, that will hurt us. That's the worst thing. I'd rather a player flopped. I do not want a striker that's middle of the road. Oh, he's okay. Every now and again, he'll get a goal. Every now and again, he'll miss a shot. We can't. We need to get. This is a really, really important position. You need the best you can get. You don't need middle of the road. You don't need working project. You don't need risk. You need the best striker you can buy, because this is football, and goals win games. And if money was no object, I know exactly where I'd be going. I would be going for people like Erling Haaland. I'd still go for someone like that. But we need the best. We need the best striker we can get. That's why many people have been speaking about Osimhen or Gyökeres. It's not because they're fashionable. It's because they score goals. And they're proven. And that, we're not probably going to get that. But it surprises me that United are pissing about around this, because we absolutely need a striker. I would abandon Mbuemo to get Osimhen. Like, I think it's so important. Now, I don't think we can get Osimhen. I'm not saying that, but I'll reiterate it before it breaks that we're signing whoever we're going to sign. I really do think United shouldn't be going cheap or potential on a striker. And that's my last observation on it. I'm not naming names, as you can tell. I just think it's the most important area of the pitch, because the way I look at it like this is, I remember Man United playing against Arsenal at Highbury years ago. Really tight game. Free kick, edge of the box. The free kick wasn't at the edge of the box. I think the free kick was on the halfway line. Henry, back to goal, ball into his fleet, little flick, volley over the top of Barthez, 1-0 or 2-1, whatever it was. Game's changed. And I think that's what people forget. We don't need an okay striker. We don't need a striker who can do a job. We need a game-changing striker. We need the best money we can get on a striker. Because, trust me, you can play absolutely shit in a game like Spurs on Wednesday, but if you've got a striker, he scores 2 goals. And that's not me having a pop at Mason Mount or Rasmus or Ahmad or anyone like that. It's just the difference. If we had Osimhen on Wednesday against Spurs, nobody can tell me he wouldn't have got on the end of a couple of those balls in and around the box, and they win you the game. And that's what I'm talking about. But I don't think Jonathan David or Liam Delap, I don't think those players last Wednesday necessarily would have won us the game. And that's what I'd be saying if I was Amorim to the board. I'd be saying, look, there's a lot of times this season where we've played badly. And in those games, that's where the striker the best you can get makes a difference. How many times this season have teams like Liverpool, like Man City, etc., played badly, or over the last couple of years, but their striker or their best goal scorer has won them the game? I would be spending as much as I could on that position. Now, the latest with Liam Delap, by the way, is, again, look, it's very interesting, actually, because the Mbuemo stories, if they're true, the same people who are talking about Mbuemo to Man United are talking about Chelsea being favourites for Delap. We've always been well briefed on the Delap story. We had another brief this morning. And the story is that Man United are very confident that they've beaten Chelsea, and Wilcox is, I nearly said balls deep. I suppose I sort of did. He's very, very focused on this deal. You know, he's convinced Amorim about it, he's convinced the board about it, and he feels that he's convinced the player about it. So, as I said this morning, nothing's changed. I've not heard anything different. I would be stunned if that deal falls through. And I think people need to understand, if that deal falls through, United have been absolute. And some of you might celebrate it. I know United fans who are like, please, Chelsea, take the player. But sometimes you're better the devil you know. Like, I don't think the alternative to Delap is Osimhen or Gyökeres, is what I'm saying. I don't know what the alternative is, which is another reason I'm convinced we'll get this deal done. But it would be a huge blow for Man United if this deal changed at the last hour, because they're absolutely, and have been for a long time, convinced that they've got this player. So I'd be very surprised. But a lot of the people who were talking about Mbuemo are also saying Delap, Chelsea. So I don't believe it. It could be, DJ's right, it could be bloody Calvert-Lewin. And somebody mentioned Sean Longstaff this morning. I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. I really wouldn't. No, I would. I think that would be stupid. Juan Garcia is not joining Barcelona. He prefers the Premier League. That's an update coming in as well. We've never been linked to him. I think he's very heavily linked to Aston Villa, to be honest with you. Yeah. Look, I don't know what we're going to do with the goalkeeper, but you've got to move Onana on, haven't you? If Delap comes in and fails, should Wilcox be sacked, says Dazzo. You know, in fairness to Delap, if he comes in, he's got to be given at least 2 years. You know, Rasmus has had 2 years, hasn't he? You've got to give him 2 years. He's only 22. So, but all I know is that Delap is certainly not plan A for Amorim. He might be plan B, he might be plan C, but he's not plan A. But he's definitely plan A for Wilcox and I presume the club, because he's cheap. So it has to work. It has to work anyway. We need, whoever the striker is has got to work. And if we're taking risks on that, then, you know, it has to work. How many goals would Gyökeres score at Ipswich, says Kai? I don't think that's got to do with anything, mate. Other than you're trying to make out that Delap's better than Gyökeres, which is laughable. I want Gyökeres, I don't want Delap, says Yusuf. I would rather have Jacob Murphy. Delap is a very bad signing. If we only had 30 million for striker, I'd go for Thuram, says Tusha. Wouldn't you want goals from 4 or 5 players rather than just through the striker? Be same issue with relying on Bruno this season, says Joe. No, I think you're right. I think it's great to have goals spread through the team, but your striker's there to score goals. From what I've seen of Liam Delap, there's not a lot else to his game apart from work rate and goals. So you would want service into him. And yeah, goals being spread around is great, but you would also want service into your striker. It's been a problem for a while. Please give your thoughts on which of the priority positions, says Goldio, which are likely to be filled. Does this give us a fighting chance? For me, goalkeeper is first. What are your top 3 priority positions now? Cunha's done. I think it's a good question from Goldio. Tyrus is gifted a membership. My 3 priority positions now are the best striker available. I'm confused about the midfield. I'll come back to that. A goalkeeper has to be now. A goalkeeper and a striker has to be a priority. Like that, they've got to be in the top 3. Like, I don't think we can go through another season with Onana because he is what he is. Obviously, I watched that Europa League final. We all did, and there was just too many examples of his shortcomings. He's not very good on crosses. He's now just booting the ball instead of passing out. He's too slow on the lower shots. When he does make a save, he's got no wrist movement to put it out of safety. And the defence have lost all confidence in him. So you have to replace him. You have to. The same thing happened with Barthez, by the way. I'm old enough to remember, some of you are. Barthez was a World Cup winner. There's no shame in Onana, not being up to the job. Barthez did exactly the same to our defence. It got to a point where he was just instilling fear. So goalkeeper, striker, and midfield is baffling to me because I look at the midfield and I'm actually quite concerned, but then I look at the midfield and there's a lot of options. So I personally think we do need a midfielder, and I would love it to be someone like Ederson. But then I look at the roster of the midfield. You've got Agate, you've got Casemiro, you've got Menu, you've got Collier, and you've got Bruno. You've got 5 for 2 positions. Bruno's not a midfielder, and I think I'll get proved right about that over the next 18 months. Casemiro will be gone in 12 months. Collier hasn't stayed fit this season in his breakthrough season. Menu has had an awful season, and Agate hasn't played for the last 2 games. So we've got 5 players, but that might mean we don't do anything there. But I actually do think we do. Now, people say, some people in the chat are saying goalkeeper, striker, and number 10. I do understand that, and I nearly said it myself. But in the number 10 positions, you've got Cunha, you've got Mount, you've got Ahmad, you've got Xerxes, and Bruno can play there. So I'd say we're stronger with the 5 number 10s than we are with the 5 midfielders I just mentioned. So for me, I would say striker, goalkeeper, and a midfielder would be my 3 priorities. But I also do agree with the opinion that if you took out Garnacho, Ahmad, and Rasmus, and you put in Gyökeres, Cunha, and Mbuemo, this team would probably go from 15th to 6th straight away, maybe even higher. So I do agree with that. I do agree with that because goals win games. We just completed a veggie retreat in Montenegro, says Garfield, and wife welcome free will take you fishing on my boat. Lovely stuff. Get rid of that number 9 we have right now and bring in 2 strikers, says Abraham. You are very obsessed about Rasmus, mate, in a very negative way. But I'm saying you're free to your opinion, but you do it about every show. United need a proper DM, says Joe Wright. I agree. Goldio, we forgot the midfield needs serious work too. We were stronger with McFred, and I said that at the time. We got rid of both. We got rid of too many players that kept us in and around the top 6. Nah, I disagree with that, mate. I disagree with that. And I'm not having that. McTominay was fucking shit in the midfield. He's been really good as an attacking midfielder, but as a midfielder, he was terrible. Even himself, he's admitted that. He was not a good midfielder, McTominay. He's a number 10. He's an attacking midfielder. He was never any good in the double pivot, in my opinion. Mark, that goalkeeper from Torino looks like Tyson Fury. He's massive, Yusuf. He's 6'7". What if we get Delap and swap Rasmus for a proven striker, says Dave? Look, I don't know what's happening with the striker situation. I definitely agree that we need 2. Amorim wants versatile players, and Mbuemo is perfect, says Cussing. And if Delap comes in and fails, I've done that one from Dazzo as well. Just a little bit of external transfer news. And when I say external, I mean people leaving the club. I'm doing a watch-along on Wednesday night for the Conference League final. I never thought I'd be saying those words, but it's Chelsea against Antony. The Mail are reporting today that Betis, Atletico Madrid and Juventus are interested in Antony. Man United want around 30 to 35 million, which I think is a fair deal. I mean, I just want to say there's a lot of reasons to be negative around Man United in relation to what's happened this season. But you got to say the loaning of Antony is a prime example of what loaning a player in January is. And you're always going to get the people who go, why did we let him go? He's cooking. He's embarrassing us. I'll tell you what, I bet Amorim, when he was thinking about Antony, went to sleep at night with a big smile on his face. Not in that way, you filthy animals. I mean, like, you loan a player out that you don't want, and then they do really well. You still don't want them, but other clubs do. Money. So I think this is brilliant. This is how a loan deal is meant to work. I've never understood the people who, when a player goes on loan, they want them to fail. Because then they're going to come back. This is brilliant. This loan deal, fair play to Antony. Without his work ethic and ability, it wouldn't have worked. But this has been brilliant for us. If I'd said to you on January the 1st, there's going to be a queue of clubs trying to buy Antony for money that means we won't make a loss in the summer, you'd have gone, what are you talking about? You're drunk on that Christmas mulled wine. And the reality is that's where we're at. We're going to get our money back. We're not going to make an FFP loss. We're going to remove 200 grand a week off the wage bill. And he's done really, really well. So I think this is exactly what a loan deal will do. Rashford to a certain extent, but I think Antony's, blown that out of the water, hasn't it? He's been brilliant for them. Napoli's goalkeeper is a free agent, says Kai. Would go with a midfield of Humlen with Agate or Mainu Cunha as the 10, says Joe Wright. What goalkeeper would you want, says ZB? Jordan says, if not Gyökeres, then Blahovic. Osman brings Rashford PR vibes. Goalkeeper is needed. Edison ideally, or of that quality. Wing back position 2. V says, if we buy a new striker, would you keep Rasmus? All great United teams need a solid second striker. Look, we need, get Vardy, says Joe. Do you reckon United has any interest in Mateta? Premier League proven and only 1 year left on his deal. I wouldn't be surprised, William, but I've not heard anything yet. Div says, can the fans actually trigger an ownership change in the Premier League? The problem is with the structure of the ownership in the Premier League as fans are not shareholders. No, we can't. We're not shareholders in the club. We're not run by the fans. We can't trigger anything because it's exclusively owned by the Glazers and Sir Jim and some shareholders that only want to make money. So no, we can't do that. What goalkeeper would I like? Look, there are goalkeepers out there I would like that I don't think are obtainable. I mean, I wouldn't mind Emi Martinez. I think he would be good for what we need over the next few years. I definitely think we need a younger goalkeeper that's going to become a world-class goalkeeper. I think that should always be your number 2. But look, ultimately, I'd bring De Gea back tomorrow. I think we need a steady, experienced goalkeeper because we're not going to win the league in the next 2 years. And we might not be in the Champions League in the next 2 years. So basically, I need a goalkeeper who's a good goalkeeper. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I just need a goalkeeper to come in and be a good goalkeeper for 2 years. Because I look at some of the mistakes we make, some of the goals we concede. I actually just need a good goalkeeper. I said this time 2 years ago. There was a lot of United fans, I'm not going to name names, who were absolutely obsessed with the ball-playing goalkeeper. And I said it at the time, and some of you agreed. Why are you obsessed with a ball-playing goalkeeper? You've seen a few clips from Edison, and you think, ooh, we need that. We need that. It's what we need. And you can go back and check the receipts. There were so many United fans. We need a ball-playing goalkeeper. We need a ball-playing goalkeeper. And what a lot of us were saying is, you're going to get rid of one of the best shot stoppers in Europe for a ball-playing goalkeeper. We can't play out from the back. We haven't got ball-playing defenders. But lo and behold, Ten Hag agreed. And now we are where we are. I would do anything to have De Gea back at this football club. Because I know for the next 2 years, he's going to save all the shots we need to be saved. And all right, he can't play out from the back, but we're not doing it anyway. So I know in the modern game you do need a ball-playing goalkeeper. Look at what Arteta did, going from Ramsdale to Raya. But fundamentally, we just need a goalkeeper that's going to... I'm not expecting United to be in the top 4 next year, in which case that means we're not going to be one of the 4 best teams in the Premier League. And if you're not going to be one of the 4 best teams in the Premier League, you're going to concede a lot of shots because you're not one of the best teams in the Premier League. And we need a goalkeeper. I can tell you right now, we're going to concede a lot of chances next season, like a lot of teams do. So it's logical. I know I'm going to concede a lot of chances next year. I need a goalkeeper that can save as many of those shots as possible. That's what I need. It's so bloody obvious. It's so obvious. Let me have a quick look. Anything else? I am on the 8 o'clock show tonight. Yes, it's a bank holiday here in the UK. Chris Wheeler in the Daily Mail has said that Bruno Fernandes is still considering an offer from Al Hilal. United are desperate not to lose their captain, but would find it hard to reject a bid in the region of 100 million. For me, I don't want to... We're all entitled to our opinion. From what I saw yesterday, from what Amorim has said, that story is dead. We've just got to get, behind the decision of the manager. I would have done it, but I've moved on. I'm not going to moan about it. I'm not going to cry about it. I've moved on. I think for the last 2 days after the final, I was like, do it. I still would do it, but I'm not passionate about it now. It's the manager's made the decision. I back the manager. Move on. Simple as that. William, I wouldn't be surprised about Mateta. We do need 2 strikers. Onana is statistically a top 5 goalkeeper in the Premier League, says Kai. Yeah, I don't do stats. I do the eye test, mate. And the eye test suggests not. When will Cunha be joining pre-season tour, says JJ? July, when we go on pre-season. It won't. Well, look, I don't know what I'm talking to here. So let's do it basics. And apologies to anyone else who already knows this. Man United are out in Asia until the end of the week. Then it's over at the end of May. They will have a month off. Some of them will go on international duty. Some of them will have a month off. And then the first week in July, they will come back for pre-season at Carrington for about 10 days. And then they will fly off to the States towards the end of July. So Cunha has finished with Wolves. I think he's flown out to Brazil for a holiday. I think his wife or partner is expecting a baby. I presume he'll have I don't know whether he's in the Brazil squad. And he will come back to Manchester for July. So that's how it'll work. Yeah. Sorry, I was just having a quick look at something there. So that's the latest on that. Yeah, I don't see Bruno going now. I think it's such a wasted time story. Yeah, I expect Delap to be a Man United player by the end of the week. Yeah, I mean, things can change, but that's what I would say. Okay, we're back at 8 o'clock. Hi, Mark. Could you see Ten Hag trying to sign players he bought in at Man United? Look, Leverkusen have got a lot of money. They've got about 100 million quid. But I would imagine Ten Hag is switched on enough, David, to go, those players were shit. I don't think he's going to go anywhere near them. Anyway, look, legends, thank you very much, as always, for tuning in. Don't forget to go and watch the Goldbridge Premier League reaction to my Premier League predictions. I can never get the words right. My Premier League, reacting to my Premier League predictions. So at the start of the season, I did a load of Premier League predictions. I've done a video reacting to them at the end of the season. Check it out. Links in the video description. It's the top pinned chat in the live chat. I'm back at 8 o'clock. I've got massive shoulder pain here. I've pulled a muscle and it absolutely kills. I'm going to get some deep heat. Thanks everyone for watching. 8 o'clock live. Unless anything happens before that, I'll speak to you all in a bit.